reporting from Gotham City, as in a gray, cloud-covered Seattle this rainy November day. From the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm Paige Browning with a roundup of today's top stories. It's Wednesday, November 5th. Starting with an update on the Seattle mayor's race. Incumbent Bruce Harrell has widened his lead over challenger Katie Wilson by an additional percentage point today. As of this afternoon's vote count, Harrell leads Wilson by about 8%. Last night, he led by about 7%. King County Elections says today's ballot drop was a bit smaller and larger ballot drops are likely on Thursday and Friday. For a little context, Wilson's campaign gained ground as the days went by in the primary election, so we will be watching closely tomorrow and Friday. At Mayor Harrell's election party last night, his supporters were feeling confident when they saw the initial returns come in. Here's Jada Berto, who lives in Mount Baker.
Feeling great the last few days. I have felt the energy shift, the wind shift, and I am joyful because we have the right man in office, and he's going back.
Many more votes have to be counted, of course, and Katie Wilson says the first results are within what her campaign expected. She's hopeful she'll overtake Harrell's lead as more ballots are counted. Here's what Wilson had to say last night after the first ballot drop.
I will continue to prepare for assuming that I am successful in this race. You know, we have a lot of wheels turning in terms of preparing for the transition process, and so that work will continue.
In Seattle, ballots that arrive after Election Day tend to favor more progressive candidates. The last time Seattle voters elected a mayor to a second term was Greg Nichols in 2005. Meanwhile, in the race for King County Executive, County Councilmember Girmay Zahalai narrowly grew his lead over rival Claudia Balducci, a fellow council member. As of this afternoon, Zahalai leads by a little more than 2 percentage points. In the race for the District 9 seat on the Seattle City Council, Dion Foster has extended her lead over City Council President Sarah Nelson. Foster now leads with 62% of the vote compared to 37% for Nelson. And for Seattle City Attorney, Erica Evans maintained her lead today over incumbent Ann Davison. Evans has 62% of the vote compared to Davison's 37%. The FAA says it will reduce air traffic by 10% across 40 high-volume markets beginning Friday morning. And one of those markets is Seattle. The FAA says it's to maintain safety during the ongoing government shutdown. The agency's confronting staffing shortages among air traffic controllers who are working unpaid during the shutdown. SeaTac airport officials say they haven't seen any impact so far, but that could change. They're continuing to recommend that travelers arrive 2 hours early for domestic flights. It is day 36 of the U.S. government shutdown, and many SNAP recipients are going without food benefits. Democratic Senator Maria Cantwell is calling on Republican colleagues to help fix that. Cantwell spoke on the Senate floor yesterday about impacts happening here in Washington.
Nearly 10% of Washington households are food insecure, meaning they don't have the necessary access to have adequate food because they simply can't afford it.
She says nearly 200,000 people in King County are affected. 42 million Americans depend on SNAP benefits, and the New York Times reports today almost 5 million of them will likely receive no benefits this month. That's due to the Trump administration's decision to only partially fund the program. Starbucks' union members have voted to strike at the company's U.S. stores next week unless it finalizes a contract agreement. The strike would begin November 13th, which is the day Starbucks plans to distribute free, reusable red cups. Red Cup Day is one of the company's busiest days of the year. Starbucks Workers United didn't say whether any Seattle area stores would be affected, but it said workers in at least 25 cities are planning to strike. In environment news, state attorneys from Washington, Oregon, California, and 13 other states say a federal proposal to stop tracking greenhouse gas pollution is illegal. John Ryan reports.
Major polluters nationwide have to tally and disclose how much damage they do to the climate each year. Trump officials say that requirement is burdensome, costing businesses $300 million a year, and they say it does nothing to help human health or air quality. The Trump administration is denying decades of scientific evidence that climate change endangers human health and ecosystems worldwide. The state attorneys say that failing to keep tabs on the most urgent environmental problem of our time will not make it go away. The proposal is part of a larger push by the White House to remove regulations on fossil fuels in order to, quote, unleash American energy. If the administration does turn a blind eye to planet heating pollution as proposed, the state attorneys say they plan to fight it in court. John Ryan, KUOW News.
The Seattle Storm introduced Sonia Rahman as their new head coach today. At the press conference, Rahman called Seattle a premier women's basketball city steeped in community with an unrivaled fan base.
It was clear as I went through this process that there is a reason this organization has a championship tradition, and it starts with the people. This is a place that exudes excellence, fosters collaboration, and the care factor here is incredible.
Rahman is the WNBA's first head coach of Indian descent. She was most recently an assistant coach with the New York Liberty and worked 4 seasons with the Memphis Grizzlies in the NBA. Rahman replaces Noelle Quinn, whose contract with the Storm was not renewed after the team failed to advance beyond the first-round playoffs for the second year in a row. Finally today, this fall's international student population at the University of Washington dropped about 7% from last year. Kim Lavos is UW's Director of International Student Services.
The slight decline is definitely in line with what we're seeing in national trends. So it's not alarming to us. It's what we were expecting and anticipating.
She says the Seattle campus's slight drop in international students could be for many reasons. One could be students deciding not to come following a federal policy shift that increased scrutiny of student visas. Lavos says despite those shifts, the university saw minimal visa delays for incoming students this fall. The largest group of international students at UW is from China. Lavos says another reason for the drop could be UW administrators working to balance the number of in-state and out-of-state students admitted. Next time on Seattle Now, local food safety attorney Bill Marler tells us about the state of food safety under the Trump administration and the current listeria outbreak that sickened people in 18 states, including Washington.
These 27 people who've been sickened in this outbreak, the listeria that was found in those bodies are all the same genetic fingerprint. That tells you that it came from one source. And that technology didn't exist 30 years ago when I did the Jack in the Box case.
Hear that Thursday morning. That's all for today from the KUOW Newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Andy Hurst, and I'm Paige Browning. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. See ya.